All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here with breaking news from the world of Journey as we do another installment of As the Journey Turns, the Arnel Pineda ultimatum, we'll call it. And of course, talking about this in real time for a few real people out there, just like you and me. So, this is really tragic what's happened, and I'm going to blame some people for this. I'm not going to blame the people that want Arnel to quit Journey, all right? But social media blowing up, people sending me messages. I wasn't home. I was out with the family. It's Sunday. It's Sunday afternoon. I was kind of just chilling, but then just I had to come home and do this. So here I am. Here's the headline. Journey's Arnel Pineda reacts to criticism of his vocal performance at Rock in Rio. This isn't even a very good headline. Says he feels devastated. The headline should be Arnel Pineda says he will step out for good if enough people on social media tell him to leave the band. That's crazy. All right. And look, do you notice that some of the craziest stuff happens with this band? And I've said, is this band cursed? Did Steve Perry put a curse on this band? I don't know. Neil Sean will say, well, we're selling out stadiums. Yeah, but for how much longer, Neil? How much longer? The 57-year-old singer who has been fronting the legendary Rockers since 2007 and was discovered on YouTube by Neil Sean was apparently reacting to a professionally filmed video. Ooh, so it's a high quality video. Now, a couple of things. Someone sent me, no, actually, they didn't send me footage, or maybe they did. I can't remember, but I clicked on it. It didn't go anywhere, but they told me that Arnel was having some issues in Rio. And I said, okay, well, I wasn't surprised. And this is my punchline here is none of this is surprising to me. It was bound to come to a head. He's 57 years old. He's been with this band since he was what, 43, 41, something like that. Yeah, since 2007. So again, my math is lousy. Let me see, 24, 7, 17. Like when he was 41, I think, is when he joined Journey. And he looked like he was about 22 or something. People said, whoa, he's young. And I was like, yeah, he's young, but he's over 40. But now he's 57. And he still kind of looks pretty young for his age, right? The hair got a little gray, but he kind of looks like still a young dude at 57. So he's at Rock in Rio, which has significance because one of the big concerts Journey did initially with Arnel was in Rio. And he did amazing. I'm pretty sure that was like 2008. And he was running all over the stage, and they were worried that he was putting out too much energy, and they wanted him just to kind of be a bit more low key. Anyway, here is what was posted on my favorite website, Facebook. I can't stand Facebook. I know people say, did you see what happened on Facebook? Nope, wasn't there. Didn't see it. Facebook page, which is called Behind the Songs. And there's a caption criticizing Arnel's bad voice and severe vocal failure. Wow. So Arnel took to Facebook. Once again, this is what Arnel has to say. And what Arnel has to say is over the top and might be worse than anything that was flying around. In some ways, it's worse. But the stuff between Sean and Kane, which is about spending and credit cards and he said, she said, whatever, that stuff, I mean, that's important. But this is a guy who doesn't really deserve what he's getting. And I'm going to talk about this. Once again, thank you so much, everyone who came to the Journey show. And I'm kind of remixing or reinterpreting this because some of the writing is off. And He puts letters where they don't belong. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like Donald Trump when he does shorthand. Um, you have to have an interpreter. Um, so he thanks everybody. Since February this year, I appreciate you all so much. And not only that, every time I'm on stage with the band, I feel this immense gratitude, humility, and honor. Now, he was sharing a link to the Rock in Rio, the clip that was used from Behind the Song's Facebook page, and he continued, I'm very aware of this. No one more than me in this world feels so devastated about this. He goes on, though, to say, it's really amazing how 1,000 right things you have done will be forgotten just because of this. And he puts this in all capital letters. And of all the places, it's in Rock in Rio. And that's kind of a reference to the first time he had that, big performance with Journey was in Rio. He says, mentally and emotionally, I've suffered already. I'm still suffering, he says, but I'll be okay. All right. So that's a passive aggressive statement for sure. He'll be okay, even though he's suffering mentally, emotionally. He suffered already and he's still suffering, but he'll be okay. I don't think he's going to be okay. I don't. I think he hasn't been okay for quite some time. There's some other issues behind the scenes with Arnel that I've discussed with patrons, and I'm not going to bring to the forefront here, but I think that also might be a factor in all of this. But here's, the real big enchilada quote here. So here's the deal. Now, I am offering you, meaning us, a chance now, especially those who've hated me and never liked me from the very beginning. I mean, to live in the shadow of Steve Perry, go ask Steve Augeri how that worked out for him. Not so good, right? So everyone who's hated me and never liked me from the very beginning to simply text go or stay right here. I guess this is on Facebook. And if go reaches 1 million, I'm stepping out for good. Wow. He says, are you game, folks? Let's start. God bless all of you, and thank you once again to all the fans and friends who believed in me since day one. All right, so some cutting edge analysis from yours truly, or not. First of all, that ending was very passive aggressive, but I think he's serious. I think he's dead serious. Do I think Go will reach 1 million? I'd like to think it won't, but here's why it might. Okay, here's why it might. Go might reach 1 million because people just can't let go of Steve Perry. They just can't do it. The bottom line is there was no replacing Steve Perry. They didn't find a Steve Perry clone. Instead, they found someone who had great vocal skills initially and great frontman skills initially, and still for the most part does. The critics used to say that he's a vocal doppelganger. I used to hear this all the time. He's a vocal clone. No, he's not a vocal clone of Steve Perry. He's not. He has a somewhat similar voice, but if you're going to be super exact here, Dean Castronovo is closer to Steve Perry than Arnel Pineda is. All right. It's a fact. Okay. It's a fact. And for whatever reason, people aren't that into this to care. They're just like, when I'm talking about the critics, when they write things like, yeah, they found a Perry clone and they've continued on. Nope, he's not. In fact, honestly, Steve Augeri, when he first joined, was probably closer to Steve Perry. Probably. Just, go back and listen to when Augeri joined Journey, and people, again, were throwing tomatoes at Steve Augeri, which just shows you, though, how much they love Perry and how much they don't want this to continue if it's not Perry. But people are showing up. They're buying tickets like all of these other bands. Now, I want to make this statement. Arnel Pineda shouldn't have been put into this situation. I was shocked when I heard that they were going to go out on tour again after the last tour which was pretty good, but I had a hunch that something was up and I couldn't prove it. But in 2017, his vocals were not good. But a couple years later, maybe it was rest, maybe it was AI. Couldn't prove any of it. It's hard to prove. I don't know. There are people on YouTube that run around and they've got graphs and charts and processing units and they run things through and then they say, yeah, this guy's lip syncing, or there's no way this guy is singing this live. Now, I think Arnel is singing everything live these days, and it's not working out too well. It's just, and I've known this for a number of years, so this is not surprising. But somebody in management a few years ago, see, here's why they don't do it, though. Because they've switched singers now. This would be technically if you count Jeff Scott Soto, but they don't. We'll just say Jeff doesn't count. So you go from Perry to Augeri to Arnel. They don't want to switch again. That's the rationale is if we switch again, we lose credibility. People have gotten used to Arnel. He's our guy. Arnel, too, has been a great team player with this band. So, no. And he's not going to rock the boat. He's not somebody who's going to start critiquing everybody on stage. He's not a Steve Perry character. He's a hired gun. And he does whatever they tell him to do. So they like that. They don't want somebody who's alpha male up there running around saying, hey, they're coming to see me. You know, it's like the Billy Joel song. These people are coming to see me. They're putting bread in my jar, you know? So they don't want to have that issue. So Arnel is controllable and he'll do whatever they want him to do. Now, smart people in the organization know that this has been a problem for a number of years, and now it's coming to a head. So how many years ago? Probably before this tour started. They should have said, look, Arnel, we love you, man. You've kicked butt throughout these years. You've been a great team player. You've put it all out there on the field. You've done your best. I think it's time for us to part ways, and we're going to find a singer. We're going to find a younger singer, because this is what you have to do with this kind of catalog. We have to go younger, and we have to go more Perry-esque. That's what they have to do to keep this going. And I have thought that for a number of years. And no, Steve Perry, you're going to get Perry. There's an opening for Steve Perry to come back. Nope. There's no opening for Steve Perry to come back. Steve Perry, again, is probably watching this and going, I knew this couldn't last forever. It did last a very long time. And Journey likes to brag and say, hey, Arnel's been here longer than Perry was here. And that's 100% true. But at what quality? You know, what the level? See, what Perry did in a shorter time period is more impressive than what Arnel has done over a longer time frame. So what they need is somebody to come in there and remind people of Steve Perry and kind of mop up the damage. Not only that this is causing, but the damage that the back and forth between Kane and Sean has caused with this band. So this is not surprising to me, but I blame the management of this band for keeping him here too long and for expecting him to do the impossible, because that's what this is. You're expecting him to sound like he did when he joined the band, and right away, probably 3 or 4 years after he had joined, it was already happening. His voice was already, you know, I don't want to say struggling, but there were signs, there were cracks in the armor, you know, things weren't good. And then by like 2017, I think that was maybe the crossing over into, yeah, this isn't good anymore. That's the way I felt personally. But I like Arnel, so it's tough. Do I go out here and just bash him every day and say, he can't sing? Why is he in Journey? This is ridiculous. No, I say he does a great job out there. I would still recommend going to see Journey, but it's tough to recommend seeing Journey now when I've seen them in different phases where they were just much better. And the vocalist in this band is key. Yes, you can look at Neil all day. You can listen to John when he does his little spiel about not stopping, when it comes to believing. Don't stop believing. We get that. That's a good speech. Thank you. But we've come to hear the music, and we want to hear the music accurately. We don't want to hear it in a way which is diminished from what we hear all the time on the radio and from the concerts we've been to before. So, again, this is certainly the beginning of maybe a breakup to some degree. I've been aware of a couple of things. I can't get into details on what I've been aware of, but this is not a surprise to me. He's under too much pressure, and he doesn't want to carry this weight. He doesn't want to ignore reality either. The band is basically asking everybody, just ignore that. You hear something that doesn't sound right, just ignore it. You're here for the show. We're at Journey. We're going to play all your favorite songs. Don't worry about it. Okay, well, I just paid $200, and I'm thinking that maybe I should hear something that resembles Journey with somebody who can handle the material. In any event, folks, I wish this guy well. Arnel is a good guy. He's just a good human being. He's not greedy. He's not vindictive. He'd give you the shirt off his back. He's got a foundation which does good works over in the Philippines. Really, where he got rescued out of, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, and a guy who, like he says here, is humble and grateful. But I think it's time that he just step away from Journey. Now, if Arnel only did a half dozen concert dates a year, or maybe a dozen, I'm saying a really light schedule, he might be able to pull this stuff off to a more, reasonable place. But right now, I just can't see this band continuing with him as the singer after this incident. But like everything else with Journey, they just seem to brush it off and they keep going. But he's saying, I want out. You know why he wants out? He doesn't want this pressure on himself anymore. He doesn't want to have to live up to everybody's high expectations when the task at hand is impossible. So those are my thoughts on the situation. There's a lot of things that are bouncing around in my brain about this, between him being burnt out many years ago, to be honest, and them just saying, yeah, just keep going. We'll just ignore it because branding, because we need branding, and this is branding, and it would be stupid to change the band at this stage. They change the band all the time. They have a different bass player. They've switched drummers a number of times. They've gone back between Steve and Dean and back to Dean and so forth. They got a different bass player. They've got an extra keyboardist who's relatively new. They can definitely keep going and change the band again. Lead singer, though, that's a real big deal. And so I'm not going over to Facebook to type in go, right? If I were to do anything, which I'm not going to do either, I'm not going to do stay or go. I would urge people to say stay, just because it's the right thing to do, and it might offset all of the Steve Perry fanatics who I think are going to come out. My guess is they're going to come out of the woodwork and they're going to be, yeah, get out of here, go. Never liked you from the beginning. And there are people that didn't like him for, in some cases, really stupid and somewhat evil things that I'm not going to say here. He's not from the right country and so forth. I thought it was a great story. I've watched the, Every Man's Journey movie a couple of times, and it's every journey's man, every man's journey. I don't know. But it's so inspirational. You're like, wow, look at this, rags to riches. But the problem is, like everything else, these bands, they don't fix things. They just keep it going. And yeah, we're just gonna. So the singer is having issues. So we're just gonna keep going. I mean, has anyone heard the Marshall Tucker band lately? Why do I bring them up? Because their singer is awful. He's awful. I love that band, but the singer is it's like, no, how can you tour with these people? I mean, everybody else in the band is pretty good. And people like they just show up. They go, hey, it's Marshall Tucker. Hey, it's Journey. Hey, it's whatever band. And we're just gonna pretend they sound exactly like they did in 1984. And they don't. So anyway, I think I've covered all of the things I usually cover in one video about this topic, and I got to get this uploaded so you can watch it. Please support the channel, YouTube. I'm talking about YouTube memberships and buy me a coffee, and also Patreon. If you want to join Patreon, there's an open thread. If you want to put in your 2 cents worth about Arnel, about Steve Perry, about anything Journey, you're welcome to do that, but you have to join Patreon in order to do that, because again, the algorithm not going to be kind to this video like pretty much every video I put out there. Maybe a little better on this because there's no political bent to it, other than the fact that Arnel might be a Republican. He might. I don't think he supports anyone, and I'm pretty sure he has dual citizenship. But we know that Jonathan Cain is a Republican, so Journey can't even get their politics right. It's just a mess. So that's the video. Thanks again. See you soon.